So like, you know, if you see somebody with the chain on, with that little vial of blood on their neck, bro, they a Scientologist, bro. So it's definitely gonna be footage of them somewhere doing something compromising. That's how a lot of these agreements get made. People get endorsed. How they get that deal out of nowhere? Because, like, I think he one of them Scientology people, bro. Because that's probably where he got that from.
And then it gets really creepy. In the beginning, of course, you have your introduction.
Oh, Bohemian, we are. The spirit of the grove has graciously given us this free power.
And then the men in robes come holding torches, and behind them are soldiers with bow and arrows and swords. And then they line up in front of the crowd. The men in robes are first, behind them the soldiers, and behind that is the altar and the owl.
According to sources, there might be some alleged Bohemian Grove evidence tied to big names, including Diddy, that could make all that Scientology talk seem like just a warm-up. When you really sit down and start unpacking the scandal that's been building up around him, freaky parties wired with cameras, Alistair's caught slipping, strange rituals, mind control, and spiritual games, it all just starts making weird sense. It really started to turn when Dave Chappelle left that $50 million Comedy Central deal on the table and bounced to Africa. Everybody said he lost it, but now it is said that he dodged a setup. Reports been floating that he was approached allegedly by Scientology folks. This whole thing might have always been about power. There's been talk for a long time that Diddy was hosting these freak-off parties. But it wasn't just some wild after-party scene. Word is these gatherings were setups engineered to catch people slipping, get them involved in something wild, and then get that on tape. And when the party ended, those recordings allegedly became leverage. That strategy ain't new. It's almost a copy-paste from what ex-Scientology members been saying for years. They say the Scientology church keeps files on people, records, private info, and isn't afraid to use it if someone steps out of line. Threats, manipulation, pressure, they all line up. And when folks realized Diddy might have been using the same kind of tools, they started asking if he was one of the players, because let's be real, several celebs have been known to be a part of this church. That's when the conversation turned to a Bohemian Grove. And once that name hit the mix, everything took on a darker tone. Bohemian Grove ain't just some member's-only retreat. It's tucked away in Northern California. Deep woods, real private, and every summer, the world's most powerful men vanish into that space. No press, no cameras, just alleged rituals, robes, and fires under a massive stone owl that watches everything. According to footage from the year 2000, it's real. Grown men, torch-lit ceremonies, burning effigies. They call it tradition, but it don't look like any regular tradition.
And then it gets really creepy. In the beginning, of course, you have your introduction.
Oh, Bohemian, we are. The spirit of the grove has graciously given us this free power.
And then the men in robes come holding torches, and behind them are soldiers with bow and arrows and swords. And then they line up in front of the crowd. The men in robes are first, behind them the soldiers, and behind that is the altar and the owl.
Now, here's where it gets real wild. According to multiple insiders, Diddy's private events may have mirrored the same type of setup as Bohemian Grove, meaning there might be footage out there from one of those tapes raided from his mansion. Diddy's access ain't a mystery. He's been in tight circles with big Hollywood names. And a few of them, Scientologists Will and Jada Pinkett Smith, sit right at the center of that link. How you going to not know nothing about Scientology and attack somebody? It's dangerous and it's ignorant. They've both been tied to the church. Jada even helped start a school that used Scientology teaching methods. People thought it was about learning, but turns out the school had staff members who were all tied to the church. Leah Remini, who walked away from Scientology and started exposing it, exposed Jada to. She said she saw her often at the Scientology Celebrity Center in LA, even though Jada claimed she wasn't part of it. Leah shared a story about being at Tom Cruise's house with the Smiths, where Tom made grown people play hide-and-seek. At first, she thought it was a joke until it wasn't. She said, "I know Jade is an N, and that ties right back into Diddy's circle, because Jamie Foxx, who's been to Diddy's parties, once talked about bringing a big camera to document the whole night. Said he'd show up, film everything, and follow Diddy around.
Showed up in it was town car days. I had a town car. Popped out the town car with a camera. Said, yo, Puff, yo, you gotta let me film this. The whole thing, we need to document this, Playboy. He was like, yo, let him through. And I'm like, all right, I'm through. And I had the big Canon camera. It wasn't like this.
Sure, yeah.
So I had the big Canon camera with the light and the battery. Yo, do that again, Puff. And so I started hanging out with Puff like back in the day. And I know this story don't make sense, but it's gonna make sense. I would hang out and watch him throw parties.
Sure, he famously threw his white party out.
He would throw a party. One point, I went to Philly, followed him all the way to Philly. He threw a party, and he said, yo, Playboy, this party costs $1.5 million.
To throw.
I'm like, you are out of your mind. And I said, Puff, I'll throw you a party for $400. That will rival this party.
This was back when Jaime was on his rise. But when Diddy started getting exposed, dude had a serious health issue. No clear details, just silence and months out of the public eye. Another layer to that is Jaime's past with Katie Holmes, who used to be married to Tom Cruise. Cruise is the face of Scientology. Katie left the church and, according to multiple sources, worked hard to protect her daughter from it. So, if Jaime had access to any of that info or was connected to people trying to pull away, he might have ended up knowing things he shouldn't. The Diddy Scientology overlap only got deeper when Cassie's lawsuit dropped. Her statements felt way too familiar to people who know how the church operates. She talked about being watched, isolated, controlled, and just like in Scientology where they run sessions called auditing to dig into your past and emotional pain. Cassie described something close to that, but through luxury, intimidation, and manipulation. In Scientology, auditing involves an emitter, a machine that tracks stress while they ask you personal questions. It's supposed to be spiritual, but those sessions get recorded, those files get kept, and if someone walks away from the church, that info doesn't stay buried. Then, Big Homie CC, a former bodyguard, dropped his own claims. He said he strongly believes Diddy learned these moves from this Scientology and Bohemian Grove connections. He talked about how those circles love to get people in tough spots, record it, and hold it over their heads. That's how they keep power moving.
Okay, if you see somebody with the chain on, with that little vial of blood on their neck, bro, they a Scientologist, bro. So it's definitely gonna be footage of them somewhere doing something compromising. That's how a lot of these agreements get made. People get endorsed. How they get that deal out of nowhere? Because, like, I think he one of them Scientology people, bro. Because that's probably where he got that from.
What Jaguar Wright also said backed that all the way up. She claimed these elite groups, Scientology, secret societies like the Bee and others run together. She talked about a certain building near where Biggie died. Said it glows blood red at night. Said the whole thing gave off a disturbing vibe like some Masonic monument that ain't about remembrance, it's about ritual.
Why didn't they ask Leah Remini? She's a little more credible. But then again, she might have been able to pull some of their cards because a lot of is involved in that Scientology bullshit too. Riding to the corner where Biggie, I was just there. Literally. And that building, it's this big, gaudy, Masonic looking thing. You know, it's all right, architecturally wise. But what gets really interesting about it is when the sun goes down, they turn the lights on, blood red, pure blood red. The whole building glows in pure blood red.
And that goes right back to what old sites like ChappelleTheory.com was saying years ago that a group called the Dark Crusaders tried to check Dave Chappelle. They were allegedly a crew of powerful black industry players who wanted Dave to fall in line. When he didn't, they allegedly threatened to come for his family. That's the kind of pressure that don't come from execs. It comes from people operating off the grid. That story feels real familiar. If you've ever looked into Scientology's fair game policy, they said they canceled it, but internal documents say otherwise. Critics still get followed, smeared, cut off from their people. It's a scorched earth approach, and it's all about making examples out of folks. That's when Sloan, Bella, a psychic, exposed something really crazy. She's been talking for years about what goes down behind the scenes. According to her, blackmail footage absolutely exists. She said, These setups ain't just random, they're built on ritual, energy manipulation, and silence. Sloan claims Diddy's not even the main engine behind this. She believes he's working under folks with more power and reach. She also pointed out how certain places around LA give off that same energy as Bohemian Grove. Hidden spots that look like spiritual retreats, but are really part of something way darker.
And there are younger musicians that are going to come out against him and talk about what he did. The bodies that are buried, okay? So the bodies that are buried, they're going to talk about it. Talk about it. There are men in other countries who are going to speak about it. There is political connections to him in other countries and this country. They're going to speak about it. He will not be able to spend his money. That huge amount of wealth. I mean, what are you going to spend that on? But do you ever wonder why these people only donate to specific organizations in a specific way? Because it's not gay behavior. That's not what we're talking about. There are gay people, but what we're talking about here is ritualistic deviancy used to harness energy of a human being. We are being harnessed.
Sloan said the whole structure is about harvesting trauma, controlling energy, and turning people into tools because it's not gay behavior. That's not what we're talking about. There are gay people, but what we're talking about here is ritualistic deviancy used to harness energy of a human being. We are being harnessed. One user said, if people don't understand or choose not to admit it out loud, then they are just be scared or weak. Ultimately, you're talking about people who are absolutely described in Revelations. While another said, so, Jaguar Wright was right the whole time. Diddy is a monster. Let us know what you think. Is this the real deal, or just another distraction? And if you're all about uncovering what others won't dare touch, go ahead and hit that button. Stay locked in and check out the next story waiting for you.